Lindsay. Welcome to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk about all things rodeo and everything else.
It's going to be pretty amazing. Guys, first I'd like to say your full name because it's so fun to say.
Oh,
Lindsay Rust Perper is the founder and creator of an amazing, we'll call it a fashion tech company. Is that primarily how you
yeah.
explain it?
Lifestyle
And
tech.
guys, when I say that this will become, yes, lifestyle tech, this will be the primary destination for you looking for the sinew and thread of what is in right now. Like if you want to be touching the pulse of trends and just things evolving in a way that just is the authentic, organic nature of fashion and art and just all the beautiful things, this is the only place you need to go and get it. And you're in luck because as you're listening today, the app is out and it is available for pre-order. And this is just the perfect timing to have this conversation. So, Lindsay, thank you so much. I'm clearly obsessed with you, as you can see. So,
Oh my gosh, Sarah, we need more people like you. You say it better than than I do.
oh no. I think, we talked about this briefly before we jumped on, but you have such a beautiful career journey, which I can't wait to get into, and we'll
Yes.
hit that. But at first, I wanted to thank you off air. I thanked you for just creating a place for artists to do art because we're in such a weird, terrible, painful time right now all over the globe. And I think people forget, although you haven't, that art has always been the thing that we as a people in a culture could turn to get through these difficult moments and times.
Hmm.
And in a tech heavy energy like we find ourselves now, you know, the frivolity of a post, it just doesn't really have a place to live and exist in a way that can be appreciated and absorbed and used for inspiration. And you have done exactly that with Shop Rodeo. So
Yes.
bravo. I'm sure that
Thank
was your
you.
intention. You've done so beautifully.
Well, I mean, and you say like you mentioned like evolution. It's been an evolving, what will rodeo be as your destination? But it certainly started with, wanting to create this stage for creatives like yourself, have to kind of like showcase their worlds and allow this like immersive experience into that content, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's really palpable too, the blend. You can't deny that the people that are currently using the app, you had 100 users go in and just start doing what they do. So the platform, if you go onto it now, it's just the best of the best. You really do get a sense of what it is now and all the possibility of what it'll grow into when there are more and more creators contributing. But it was really interesting to see an interior designer, and then there's a
Yep,
photographer, and
yep.
of course we've got a videographer on there. But just the different caveats of artistry and giving them a place off the clock, or sharing their work from on the clock to just display that creativity in a way that gives them, somewhere to share it.
Yeah, it's so exciting when you like hear someone describe rodeo exactly for what it is. It's, much different than when I'm speaking to investors. uh, but yeah, it seems to be a platform that just really speaks to the creatives, that it's attracting the right, community, and um, clearly, it's resonating with the super users. We want to kind of be at the center, the heart, kind of the heart and soul of rodeo, and it's amazing.
Oh, man. Okay, let's get to how your career started.
Yeah.
You started in the heart of New York doing all the things. You have a background in accounting, marketing for sure, but tech was something that was kind of, I guess, newer within your evolving career journey. So I'm so excited to learn about your time at 17 magazine because for me something there clicks with that time frame and what you're doing now with Shop Rodeo in a way that feels really serendipitous. So I'm so curious to know about your time at 17 and then
Oh, I don't even know how you have dug up that I was at. I interned very briefly at 17 magazine. Uh, and I actually quit the internship halfway through the summer. because I was doing two internships. One was at a small designer, Jay Godfrey, and one was at 17. And halfway through the summer, I got like an official offer to kind of be a paid intern. Back in the day, they didn't pay you for your internships. Um, but so yes, I went on full time at Jay Godfrey, and actually that's where I started my career at this, startup uh, in the fashion industry, and I wore a lot of hats. You definitely have done your digging because I was doing accounting, I was doing some system integrations with our warehouse. I started the social media for Jay Godfrey, which is pretty crazy. Like that's how old I am. That we didn't have like an Instagram for the company or Twitter. And so I wore a lot of hats in my first role. And I really like give a lot of credit to, you know, those 2 years at Jay Godfrey and what that did to really show me the full life cycle of the fashion industry. And I think that did a lot for the beginning of my career at Ralph Lauren because I hadn't been so siloed into my vertical, right? Like I knew that, what the implications of this decision today had on, the warehouse or the P&L, the profit loss reporting. So um, after 2 years, I kind of had grown out of my role at Jay Godfrey, and I went over to Ralph Lauren, where I was doing a little weaving up the planning and merchandising departments there. Oversaw merch planning for Lauren, Ralph Lauren Collection, Polo Ralph Lauren, and so my role at Ralph was very data driven. So looking at the sales data from Bergdorf Goodman and Macy's Herald Square, and really using that data to inform who our consumer, who the shopper was, what they wanted to buy from the Ralph Lauren shop at Herald Square versus Bergdorf's. And I was doing the forecasting and buying of the products for many different women's brands. And so that was like kind of the core of my role. Kind of alongside that, at the 7.5 years I was at Ralph Lauren, I I've always been a very like kind of an early adopter in technology. So I like understand code. At a very high level, I understand code. I've done a little bit of coding myself as like hobby along the way, but I was a super user in a lot of different integrations that we rolled out at Ralph Lauren. So I was working with Deloitte on a big system rollout for kind of like 2 years of my time at Ralph. So I understand kind of like data input output, and I got really good at making things more efficient in Excel. I'm really good at Excel. So that's kind of like the extent of my technology background. And then during my time at Ralph Lauren, it was the pandemic, and I got onto TikTok as just like this outlet, right? Because I was totally quarantined, and it became this like creative expression, kind of like where I was connecting with people. And I started getting this like, following on TikTok, and I saw the power of people connecting around like similar interests, similar stages of life. I was, then furloughed from Ralph Lauren, and there were thousands and thousands of people that had been furloughed from Ralph Lauren, and so they were connecting on that. But then what that translated into was a super powerful form of influence that's not your traditional influencer, because people had trust in me because they could relate to being furloughed from Ralph Lauren or being a single 30-year-old. And so they started getting invested in this whole journey, and they wanted to not only know like how are you doing in furlough, they wanted to know, like, what sweater are you wearing, or where can I buy that mirror behind you? And so I saw the power this kind of content, or any kind of content, has, you know, even at a nano micro level on brand awareness and purchase decisions. And so people were, asking where to get the sweater, and I kind of went out to look at all the tools that were available. So I got a link tree, and I built my website, and I was doing all the things to be able to make this content, shoppable, because they were asking for it. I wanted to give the people what they want, and it like totally took the creative fun out of what I was doing, right? I was like, wait, I signed up to just have a fun TikTok. I didn't sign up to do all of this administrative work. And I was hearing from others, like the burnout, the creator burnout. Everyone was talking about it. It's like, well, why is that creator burnout happening? Um, Probably because nobody really signed up to be an influencer. Most of the people didn't sign up to be an influencer. They're just sharing this like creative energy. And so I, in October of 2020, Ralph Lauren came back to me and said they had a different role for me. And the role was completely removed from the creative side of the business, right? It was like a very planning heavy, not product heavy role. And I had gone through the almost the majority of 2020 with this like super creative sidekick, of a year, and I had to make a tough decision. Like I can't give this up. I feel like there's something more here. So I like basically November 1st start cramming, studying for the GMAT, and I was determined to go back to business school. I went to NYU Stern. I don't know, someone was looking out for me out there. I don't know how I got in, but um, that was going back to business school was like the beginning of, not the beginning, it was kind of what really got the ball rolling in the right direction for rodeo. And it gave me, it's not like I learned anything in business school that I couldn't have learned, on my own. But what it did do for me is I don't think I would have taken that leap of faith to go really like do this. And it gave me the infrastructure and the encouragement and the people around me, and just that like learning mindset of like, I can do this. And so the stars like aligned in that sense of, that's why we're here having this conversation.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, taking it back to how you started, I love hearing people's journeys and then just seeing all the dots connect. But excuse me, for me, when I look at your app, it takes me back to a time where creativity came first for Instagram, not numbers, not likes. When Instagram first came out, it was just to like mess around and like make cool stuff and put it up. And then it got kind of a little pretentious because people were like, oh no, people are watching. Oh, I can get work from this. I can get that from this. And the play of it was robbed from all of us. Your app to me feels like a combination of Tumblr and the carefree, beautiful nature of Tumblr, and what a safe space that was for you to really just make your world look the way you wanted it. And people bonded over that. It was very authentic. And then the earlier days, the creative aspect of artists recognizing there was a true digital medium where they could put stuff out and people could see it and everybody could come together and be like, look what I made, look what you made. That's been taken from us
Yes.
over the last 10 years, very slowly, but it's so interesting to me that you are ahead of the curve. For the last 2 years, we've all hated the crap out of Instagram, and TikTok's catching up, but there's nowhere else for us to go, nowhere else for us to put these things out and do these things where a lot of people can interact if that's what you're looking for. And I find it so amazing that creators and influencers are dialing it back. There's less produced content. It's more like, look at the real me. Oops, I don't have makeup on today while I make this casserole. Like,
Mhm.
and people are liking that more than the curated. but no one's thinking about the artists that are so tired of doing the same thing that they are ready to innovate.
Right.
You are the platform where they go to innovate
Mm-hmm.
and create that cusp of the new culture of what Instagram content will look like and how socials work, and it will influence how brands work with influencers. Like, everyone's really neglected the piece de resistance that is where the authenticity pours from. It is the artist, like tabula rasa. Like, you can make the future of the industry that you have worked your way through like kind of bow down a little bit, and you've given creators and artists the wand back to be like, we don't need that. Like, we know where the dollars come from, we know where the
You're
investments
right.
come
It's a
from.
power shift. You're spot on with that.
Yes, it feels deeply, deeply like it's time. And it feels very much like across the board in all arts, TV with the SAG Awards, musicians getting gyps. Like, artists are really coming into a moment where there could be a revolution of sorts that just puts the power back, as you
Yeah.
said, into their hands, to where creativity leads first, profit leads
Right.
second, because true art will always be received by those that are supposed to receive it. And back in the day, it wasn't for the expediency of like a commerce transaction, it was for the inspiration. And I love
Yeah.
that you put that first in the presentation of the app. And of course, the clickability is engageable. You love it. You're like, oh, yeah, of course I
Yeah.
want to like look at this book here. Like, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Was
No,
that a
I mean,
conscious
it's
effort?
crazy. What? Sorry?
I'm sorry. Was that like a where you were like, no, 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 this is all about the creators. This is about the creators. This is about the
Yes.
creators.
Yes. Yes. That so of course you like it's not easy to start an app. Like spoiler alert, I think everyone knows that. But it's really hard to build an app where you have three customers, right? You have the creator, you have the shopper, and you have the brand, and you want to be serving each one of them in a way that they're not served today, right? So that, of course, becomes like really quickly a cold start problem. If you're trying if you're trying to solve all those problems at once, that's what happens. So it was, I've had to, I still have to remind myself and the team we have to be creator first, and then we serve the rest through like this flywheel, right? Like a beautiful experience, yes, that's great, and the data we're gathering in terms of who the consumer is and what that does for brands around here. This creator that may only have 1,000 followers is actually really impactful in terms of driving awareness and purchasing to your brand. But all of that doesn't come unless we focus on the creator first, right? Like, why do they want to be on Rodeo? Well, maybe it's because it's super easy and it's a place that people are appreciating your creativity for what it is. And it's a place where I think we've given creatives a place where they can kind of share this diary of their world, and they're doing it for themselves. They're not doing it for you or their 1,000 followers or 100,000 followers. They do it for themselves. And I think that's what's resonating to you, Sarah, and to the people that it's bringing into this community is they feel recognized for who they are, not because they put on a cute outfit and want to sell the shit out of it, right? Like, um, so yeah, so like initially it's like, I mean, I think we will always be creator first. And if you look back at history from the beginning of time, like Pablo Picasso, anybody you look back, they didn't make money on their art till they were long gone. And so we've always been taken advantage of in that way. And for the first time ever, there is this ability to scale like this, for brands to reach the consumer through a creator. And it's because where social media has reached the extent that it has, and it's because where are people spending their time? Well, they're spending it on social media. So it is now the most powerful place to reach 4 billion people. And so there is a massive power shift that needs to happen, and we're out to help that happen. And how do you create a sustainable creator economy, right? Like, how do you create something that doesn't cause burnout, that is just about creative expression and not slinging products, talking about the next sale, talking about the new face cream, like,
Yes.
yeah.
I love so much that, oh, to get back to the career part, because I feel like it's super important. 17 was the party, it was the fun, it was like the vitality of life. You're catering to teens, so like it's got to stay upbeat, it's got to stay lively, creative. You move on to then be completely focused on the back end of things. You're enveloped in like you basically got an MBA of your own, both in culture and like the pragmatic side of things, the logistics of it. And then for Ralph Lauren to take you to the place to where you are in this world of high fashion, you understand the business end of it, so you're now able to communicate with these brands in a way to where you understand their bottom line, you understand what they're making and what they're not
Right.
making. You understand that there's a core thing they're missing and that they've all become very disconnected from, and that is the end user. And the end
Mhm.
user doesn't really trust the big brand anymore. They want to hear from someone that they know and feel akin to, whether
Right.
it's in shopping and personality and like what lifestyle you have. But all of that, I think, would have been a lifetime of experience that you would not have had available to you to start this app if
Right.
you hadn't kind of taken that journey of like along the way, you're remembering the pain points, you're remembering the issues, your own pain
Right.
points during COVID of it being difficult. And like, I really resonate with that because I tried my damnedest to, make a certain specific shopping app that shares like some content fun. I just wanted it to be fun. I didn't even care about making money from it. It was so clunky. It was hard to use. It didn't bring me joy. It made me feel like I was just creating a somewhat lesser than tech developed like web page of like a shopping cart I had. Like I didn't like it. It didn't appeal to me, and the sharing of it was kind of even worse. It didn't fit in with my feed. It looked silly.
Hmm.
It stuck out like a sore thumb, like it was for
Right.
commerce and not for creativity.
Hmm.
So I love so much that you've built a place to where the heart and soul of fashion and creativity and art and in essence like the renaissance things that have been thrown over the shoulder and put to the side because of tech, you've empowered them through tech to be able to kind of keep going through to the next iteration because I think if we don't get a handle on the way in which we're being removed from the items that we're using every day, we're going to find ourselves in a very homogenized, sad, boring place where everything looks the same. Every
Right.
course creator is selling their course the same way. Like it's getting very monotonous and annoying.
Yeah.
And I think you've really carved a place for not only authenticity to exist, but for autonomy to thrive in both a creative sense and a business sense for a freelancer or someone
Yeah.
within the productive space.
Yeah. Gosh, you say it so beautifully. Like, can can you like do my pitch deck as
I
well?
will do whatever you want because I'm obsessed with you, and this app is the fucking future. Like, I
Yeah.
see a big B on your forehead because you're gonna sell this puppy for $1 billion 20 years, not even 20 years from now. That's
No, no,
ridiculous.
no.
10 years from now.
Honey, I'm not going to be alive in 20 years if it's not sooner than that. Like, no, no,
You're
we're
gonna be a
shooting,
billionaire.
we're shooting for the moon here. But and the hard day, like what gets me through the hard days, it is just this passion and fire that I'm like, this has to get into like, out to the world, right? Like it feels like something that just needs to be um, given to everybody, not just the 10,000 people that can be on the test flight prior to launch. But I think like you're saying things that are resonating if you like to me, and I think just to kind of like just straight up out say it. You think about like shopping over the last 100 years. There was, you know, brands coming around creating their brick and mortar stores, and so you'd have to drive to Nike, and then you'd have to drive to Adidas, and then to Reebok to do kind of your discovery comparison, like where do I get the best price or best quality or the sustainable option, which wasn't even around like a thing back when this was happening. But then, you know, if you look at like one of the top 100 innovations or inventions in the consumer life was the shopping mall. And 25,000 shopping malls were at the town center of cities across the US, and they aggregated this discovery, this where you go to, see and be seen, find cool brands, find the new trends, and compare, do that whole consideration process, and then make that final purchase. Things moved online, and that fragmentation happened again, right? It's like you had the ralphlauren.com, you had the nike.com, and you had to kind of shop around again. And eBay and Amazon and Etsy and Google came around to kind of aggregate that journey into one in an easier process. But something massive was lost in this shift online. And it's the consumer behavior had been discovery led, right? You were a discovery shopper. You move online, and all of a sudden, this shift is massive. It's become a search based journey now because ultimately you're landing on Google probably if you're a smart shopper because you want to see where can I buy it for the cheapest, where do I get it so it ships to me tomorrow. And so discovery was lost in this shift online. It's become white pages that you have to flip through 100 different pages to do the discovery, price comparison, quality comparison, and final purchase. So social media has started to revert that behavior back to discovery a bit, but to actually make the purchase, you got to be super determined to make that purchase because you got to go across 5 different platforms and all the different clicks. And if someone, you've got to be really dedicated to that consumer journey to make that purchase. So, you know, that's where rodeo, I feel like, becomes this discovery led, a place that just kind of like brings the mall back. It's like mall 3.0, right? Let's bring the mall back around a shopping experience. Only when you walk into that mall, your personal shopper has already pulled everything you would possibly want to see right there for you. So you don't even have to walk around the mall. Your mall's right here. You're seeing the cool people, cool brands, all the trends.
It's so interesting. I'm 38, so my first experience shopping online probably didn't happen until I was maybe 25, and it was like to Forever 21 because there wasn't one near my college and I was like where I went to school and like lived for a while after that. Before that, you're right. It was literally like the luck of the gods will bring you something cool at the stores in your town, or if not, like you're a little SOL unless you've got a cousin in another town that like has access to a store that's going to send you something cool, because we were really relegated to geography, like what's around us, what can I drive to. For me, the mall was an hour and a half away from where I lived, the closest one. So fashion was always something in my town that had to be based out of creativity, because everyone only had access to the same things. There were a few children who were wealthier and they'd go like drive somewhere for like a school trip and get all the cool clothes, but the individuality of having to take what you could find and make it work for you, I think was something that maybe up until my generation was like the last group that really had to get like, you got to think about what you're going to put together and how can you not show up wearing the same outfit as 4 girls that down accident.
Hmm.
And then the accessibility of everything, I think, not only impeded fashion, but really kind of bastardized it in a way that made it feel like it's rare that I purchase something online. It's more common that I'm going to window shop, meaning scroll endlessly, and I'll save a ton of shit. But the thrill is gone. Like the specialness of the experience just doesn't translate anymore, and it's become very like humdrum. Like I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
like I
it's like,
need to find
oh, I have
something
to find a
to get
dress for
to.
this weekend. Oh,
Yeah, it's stressful and it's annoying, and then you're like, well, this turned into a chore. This
yeah,
should be fun.
yeah.
Your app is bringing back the excitement of like getting ready for an event or planning for something big, or I'm going on vacation. I'm going to plan out all of my outfits, and it's not going to be via Pinterest and screenshots of stores and like random like saved boxes in my Instagram of like creators' outfits I liked.
But you
You're
like never revisit.
ever. And then, Instagram hasn't let me check my save folder in 2.5 years now. So I don't even know what's in there. I still save stuff, hoping one day I get access. But the glitches, the issues, the problems, it's made shopping a chore.
Yeah,
And I think Instagram stores, when they added it, was somewhat of a temporary fix. It gave us a little bit of excitement. But now I've
exactly.
seen thousands of things. I bought twice on Instagram, and both times there was an error with my order and I had to fight to get refunded. So like I won't even do that ever again. And these
Hmm.
were with reputable companies like Connected Links. It just wasn't talking to like the programs
Oh,
weren't
and
working.
that's why Instagram has like totally moved that to the back burner.
Yeah. So I love that you are your expertise in the market. You're having to be ahead of the trends because you were in such luxury houses and focused on, the different incentives and things that they had. I really do believe that in such a unique way that was absolutely meant for you, you are the core driver of what will become the status quo over the next 10 years because they're going to be trying to catch up to you forever with what you've created. And you've done so authentically, and you've created a space where people are
Yeah.
clamoring to get in. Like, tell me about that. What does it feel like to be in a space now where you've put in all the work, you've made the app, and now creators are creating?
It feels amazing, right? It's so awesome. I mean, it's so rewarding to like have this kind of conversation with you, and I had another conversation for with a creator and for like her small magazine yesterday. It's just it's crazy that and even our team will sit around and we'll be like, what is it? That's what is it that they see or that they like? Because we're so close to it, or living, breathing it. And it's like we don't get it, but it's because there's something so tacit. There's like what people are underestimating is the art that goes into the science, right? And there's you've got to have this really special mix of art and science to pull this off, and feels like we're doing it. We kind of got all the ducks in a row, and it feels like the beginning. It's hard to believe. It's like 3 years into this journey, it feels like the beginning of something amazing. We're still at the beginning. But yeah, and I think that the thing that keeps me up at night is like, how do we keep this fresh forever? You have, and I think by focusing on the creator and the creatives that um, are the heart and soul of rodeo, they're the ones that keep it fresh. They do that job for us. And I think that's so powerful for brands. They no longer have to rely on the 2 marketing campaigns they can afford a year. They can rely on relevance and fresh content and perspective around their clothing or their interior design, whatever it is, through these creators that just want to be creative. And I think that there's a there's a interesting shift in the mindset of brands that has to happen, and you see some brands doing it and some brands fighting it. And I understand, like I was at Ralph Lauren for a long time, and I understand controlling this narrative and what the brand is. However, there needs to be a little bit of like release of control, and not having this mindset of like, to be marketing Ralph Lauren, you need to be head to toe in Ralph Lauren, in your Ralph Lauren home with your Ralph Lauren kids. And, that's just not realistic for the future. And so that's where we'll see over the next decade the early brands that are accepting it, which we're already seeing some of, and the brands that will fight until the end for the control of this marketing. And the reality is that like no one's reality is head to toe Ralph Lauren in a Ralph Lauren home.
No,
So it'll be an interesting evolution there too.
for sure. I think a lot of the heritage brands of like the luxury of 20 years ago, are the ones that have always just relied on their name carrying them through, their name carrying them through.
Right.
And I feel like my age group is probably the last generation to be like, excuse my language, I curse a lot, like label whores. You don't really
Yeah.
see that too much now, except for like very specific niches of individuals that just live that luxury life. But even with the flip flop of extremely wealthy people no longer wanting to wear labels, you're not seeing the wife with like the pink crocodile Hermes like going to lunch anymore. Like they are thinking about like getting their third home in Italy in a different region. And like
Hmm.
the wants and needs have changed in ways of displaying wealth. And I really find it interesting, and I wonder if you've ever thought about this, but for me, there's like silos of fashion. There are the people that are trying to be like the lifestyle they want, so they spend all they've got on the things they think they need to be seen in that manner. Then there are the people that are just putting on clothing for the function of it, like we kind of don't count them in or out. They're just ambiguous to, the nature of evolving any kind of fashion. And then there are the people that are the creatives that find your app because they're looking for uniqueness, or they are the unique individual that has never fit into the model of the commerce of fashion. They've
Hmm.
always had to pick and choose. They've always had to pull this from that and blend this here and do that there. The high low, like they were probably the first person in their life to high low things together. And I wonder if, I mean, for me, with friend groups that I have in all levels of income, people only care to wear the stuff that they think is cool, they like how it looks on them, or they're conscious of like the fit, but it's something versatile.
Right.
Brands are not thinking about this at all. They don't think about the way in which we actually have to live in these clothes, whether it's for a special occasion or for the day to day of like changing your baby's diaper. And for me, I love that Shop Rodeo gives you the full picture because
Yeah.
people are choosing on their own accord, no matter what category of life they fit in, no matter what genre of clothing they love, they're able to use this app, and together they're just creating this really beautiful, trusted environment
Yeah.
of things that you're not going to question purchasing. You don't you love that she bought that top and wore it because she bought that top and wore it and loved it and it was her color and like all the things, not because you clicked on a Facebook ad that had 38,000 pumped behind that puppy that morning and then you saw it pop up and you clicked it and then it came in and it didn't even fit you properly. Like
Right.
there's just so many parts of the shopping experience that these larger conglomerates have been able to just shove down our throats, and
Mm.
we're getting sick of it.
Yeah.
And it is this almost like rejection of like, no, we're not taking your lazy shit anymore. You got to put some effort in. You got to put some work in.
Yeah.
Models and super like famous people don't do it for us anymore. Show me
Yeah.
someone in my size, or show me someone that has my height. I'm a 5'10" woman. Like, what do you
Yeah.
got for me?
Yeah.
That is what's always missing. And you, if you're at, in my opinion, if you're asking why are we so popular right now, you have given every single fashionista, creator, artist the full and total green light to be themselves, which is only allowing more people to feel like they can be themselves. And the lack of judgment and literally only the full support of like, oh, you like how I look? Well, this whole app just allows you to be able to go click, 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 and you can have all of it.
Yeah.
And sidebar, I feel like you're my friend now. Like there's such a
Yep.
friendship, relatability, trust. I wouldn't question for a second, based on the amount of time the person put into what they're making. They're not directly like, this isn't like a campaign where they're getting paid 10K to like put on a lip gloss. This is
No.
something they actually have in their makeup bag or in their purse all the time.
Right.
Like it's just like you're getting to have intimate conversations with a bunch of people that feel like you're friends, and you're all just sharing what you bought or what you like or what you're doing, and
Yeah.
no one on this planet has created anything even remotely close because they're worried about the dollars and they're not worried about the community and the connection.
Right. The community is the biggest thing, and I mean, we pinch ourselves every day, and it's like there's no interaction uh, other than following and saving. There's no interaction on the app, but what is it that they feel this community? And it's just, um, it's somewhere that like it's a judgment free destination where you just share what you want to share because it makes you feel good.
Yeah. Can you give us the specifics of, okay, let's say they've never seen your app before, which I'll put all the links in the show notes for. You can click now and just be able to see the app in its testing form, and then you can also access early access to the app. So I'll put all the links in for that. But could you just walk us through what someone's going to see when they first log in for, we'll say, just like the tech specs of it? Like, how does it work?
So you land into a feed similar to what, a TikTok or Instagram is going to feel like, only the content is way cooler. So you can like browse through the trending, or maybe it's, the Valentine's Day feed, or, kind of similar to, almost like similar to commerce, where instead of the different feeds being like the For You page um, and the following page, it's like you have the different like relevant things that are happening today around commerce. So trending, or Valentine's Day, or men's, or home. Um, and so you can scroll through content the way you do it on other social media apps, but on the bottom right, you'll see a little lasso, and hitting that lasso really brings a new dimension. It's bringing this contextual experience to commerce. So it pulls the products out of that content so you can explore the content further.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say you came to shop for the mirror behind me. Clicking that lasso will pull the mirror out for you. And you can click on the mirror, and below that mirror, it will say, well, here's other products that are also made by Restoration Hardware. And if you don't like those products, well, here's some other products that you may like based on what we've seen other people shopping for this mirror like. And so it's again like bringing this contextual experience in discovery into that page, instead of making you go click through 100 white pages, uh, if you can make it that far. But you can also then, like, if you let's say you want to see all of the content that has Restoration Hardware like in that content, you can also just hit that button and go explore all of the Restoration Hardware associated content. So it's really like, it's powerful for the shopper and for the brands, and it's just a place to shine for the creator. Then I almost forgot the most important part. So you have the consuming of content, right? But you can also create. So the bottom has the bottom navigation bar has a plus, the same way you might see on other apps, and hitting that will takes you into, well, we've aggregated for you your TikTok content, your Instagram content, so you don't have to go republish a million different places. But you can also, we're seeing a ton of content just exclusively come to Rodeo that it hasn't been at other places. Um, then, so let's say I want to include something from my Instagram story. Then we're using a few different layers of AI to kind of relieve the next step of this, which is, well, we have found these products. We found this mirror inside your content. So now you don't have to go gather all your links and bring it over to your website. So we really streamlined the process of creating that shoppable experience for your followers on Rodeo, instead of, and that's really to, fight the burnout that we're seeing.
Ugh. I'm like crying tears to you. It is just like having gone through the app over the last few days. One, thank you for making it for us. We're, as you said, so burnt out, so bored, and these things are in our hands a lot. And if I had somewhere else to go to where I could see other creators making things, I know what goes into the creation process. I know how much work it takes. And people that don't really care, They're
Right.
like, oh, all right, well, it took you 4 hours. No one told you to do it. And it's like, okay, but like, it's my art. So
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to have a place where you're not only appreciated, there's going to be that level of just understanding that you're like kind of at home. You're like in a safe place where there are others like you, that above all, art is the leading thing that gives them their passion, their purpose.
Yeah.
And to just know that uh like I have so many art friends that over the last few years, it's been really difficult for artists. Like for a few years, they couldn't even like show their art out in front of people. And
Right.
I don't think anyone's really discussed the way in which the art world has suffered over the last few years. And I know for certain, it gives me goosebumps as I say this, that you are going to give an outlet to so many people that have just been needing it and don't have the expertise that you have to create this huge tech company and this app and just make everything so seamless and perfect and fun to do. And I think you're going to find a lot of creators DMing you and really thanking you for what you've done because you're giving us a place to be seen, be heard, and also, just there's definitely an element of inspiration that I think would lead creators to push outside of the bubbles of what they've always done
Yeah,
and try new things. And
they're
that's
definitely
where you're
everyone's
leading the charge. Like,
inspiring each other. Yeah.
yes, you are the future of tech, fashion, culture, so many things. And I am so thankful I got to have you on so early in your career. I literally cannot wait to see what is coming for you. I know we didn't talk tech too much, but I would love to have you on in 6 months and just give us an
Let's
update with where you're at and what you're
yeah.
doing. And
Yeah. I,
so thankful.
I have goosebumps all over. Thank you for loving it, loving my baby. uh,
It's
and
beautiful.
yeah, keep putting this amazing energy out in the world. I'm gonna like you've kind of turned my day around.
Oh,
But yeah, you know, we're creating something for the future, together. It's not me, it's rodeo. It's because it's bigger than me. So
so
I'm
beautiful.
really excited to see kind of where things go.
Oh my gosh, I can't get out of here without asking you two questions. One, where did the Shop Rodeo brand lasso, where did that all come from? I'm
Hmm.
like here for
Yeah,
it entirely. I
yeah.
love it so much.
So I had actually trademarked Shop My Content before going back to business school. And I thought this was going to be Shop My Content. But I started talking to the creators and I kept hearing authenticity over and over, trust, authenticity. It's like, why are we going to go push something out to the world that's basically telling you to go buy the stuff inside of the content, right? So that was talk about cold start after cold start, but this was the first cold start, right? We can't start designing an experience, an app, until we know the whole concept of it. And uh, my head of product, kept pushing me. It was like something I was like ignoring. I'm like, well, let's still like design it. Let's mock it up. We know what we want, but we'll figure out the name later. He's like, no, we got to figure out the name now. Every detail feeds into, that experience. And so I kept calling my brother. I'm like, how do we got to figure out this name? And he was like, Lindsay, think about like Milan or like Rodeo Drive and I was like, oh my gosh, rodeo. It's like a roundup of content and the mall 3.0, like where you go find all the cool brands, the cool trends, the
Oh
creators.
my God.
And I went to college in Texas, so like the rodeo kind of felt like a good fit. And we actually like accented the E intentionally because, hey, the best form of marketing is word of mouth, right? And if people talk about rodeo for more than a second, it's a win for us. So we want, a lot of times I'll get on a call and people will say, like, so tell me about rodeo, like rodeo. And it's like, good. It's a good thing, right? Like we want people to be like, oh, I thought it was rodeo. Oh, I don't know. Um, so
I love
yeah,
it.
I think the branding, Luis, he's in Portugal. Um, he is just so incredibly creative. It is insane.
Murdered it.
Yeah.
Murdered it. Like, including guys, I can't wait for you to click on the link after this show ends and just see the lasso in action. When I
Yeah, I
tell
mean,
you,
it's like not even perfect. Like there's so much more to come. You have to like keep a pulse on it. Like it's gonna change every day.
oh, they'll keep the pulse on it because they're going to be waiting patiently to get in and be using it
Yeah.
all the time. And I think I'm just going to predict this. I give it a year and a half before Meta is knocking on your door asking to buy your tech so they can integrate it into the platform and get rid of that awful shop.
I think so. I think so.
I see a B, some letters coming in your future.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. This is
Yes, tell
the
me.
question I ask all my guests. Lindsay, how do you make your life rich?
Mm, more conversations like this. No, just I think that allowing people to do what they love, giving people the tools and the place to do what they love. I think that is what is kind of when it boils down, like why am I here? It's that, and I think that we kind of skipped over this piece about when you look back at history, but what comes out of it, like over and over again throughout pandemics, is this incredible spark of creativity that is super, monumental to innovations that come out of these pandemics. And I think that um, the creative people need their stage, and I think that there's so much that will come out of this. And I think a place for the artists that have gone through a really hard time to feel inspired to do, like, create their next thing, whatever that may be. So that's what we're doing with rodeo.
Ugh, amen. Thank you so much for preserving art and beauty and culture in a tech heavy time that doesn't quite understand how to integrate it and make it valuable.
Yeah, I love that you
Um,
keep saying culture too. I think that's a big piece of it.
100%. You like the things that we learned in like grade school in sociology was always about the art. They made these kind of pots. They loved this kind
Yeah,
of tapestry. They made these kind of paintings.
yeah,
If the world were to shut off right now, there are very few things in tech that are preserving what the culture was of this place besides Instagram, and it feels very tainted and yucky. And you have created a space where you're like the Louvre in a little glass box. Like it's just like
yeah.
it's so beautiful and
Like,
perfect.
please
I'm
don't bring
heartbroken.
politics into this conversation. I'm just trying to shop.
Yeah, like keep it to yourself, buddy. I'm here for the endorphins and
Yeah.
eating out for next weekend. Thanks, bye. Thank you so
Awesome,
much for coming
Sarah.
on.
Thank
This was
you.
incredible. And guys, click all the links and get this app. Get it in your little hands. You're going to be obsessed. And then just go tell her how much you love it because Lindsay deserves to hear it.
Oh,
Lindsay Rust Perper, you are a freaking phenomenon. You have literally changed fashion and culture, and no one knows it yet. And I love that for you.
yeah.
So.
We got to change that part, but yeah. The people must know. No, but thank you. Awesome, awesome to chat with you. We'll chat in 6